what I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep science for life.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of the science of life, Lane, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracken?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see from your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that in a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I ascribe it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I have noticed in married households that the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, Lane, is marriage as demoralizing as that?
Oh, I think it is a very pleasant state, sir. I've very little experience of it myself up to the present time. I've only been married once. And that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it's not very interesting. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. I mean, really, if the lower orders can't set us a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have no sense of their moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else would bring one anywhere? Eating as usual. Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Now, where have you been since Thursday?
In the country.
And what on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
Who are these people you amuse?
Neighbours.
Got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
Immensely you must amuse them.
Hello, Algy, why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, it's all very good, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of you being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. It is almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I'm in love with Gwendolen. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you'd come up with pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
There is nothing romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, sure, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted. One usually is, I believe, and then the excitement is all over. If ever I get married, I shall certainly try and forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algy. The divorce court was specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
No, there's no use speculating on that subject. Divorces were made in heaven. Keep your hands off the cucumber sandwich. I have them ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
But you've been eating them all the time.
Quite a different matter. She's my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
And a very good bread and butter it is, too.
My dear fellow, you needn't eat as though you're going to eat it all. You act as if you're married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't. It's a great truth that accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent.
My dear fellow, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you shall have to clear up the whole question of Sesame.
Cecily? Why on earth do you say that name, Algy? I don't know anyone by the name of Cecily.
Bring me the cigarette case, Mr. Worthing, after the smoking room outside today,
You mean to say you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you'd let me know. I've been writing frantic to letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
Well, there's no good offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
Oh, that's very mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, for now that I read the inscription inside, I find the thing is not yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you've no right whatsoever to read what's written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, it is absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. More than half of modern culture depends on what one should read.
I'm quite aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk about in private. I simply want my cigarette case.
Yes, but this is not your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone by the name of Cecily, and you just said you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too, lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me.
Why does she call herself Little Cecily? Fraudulent Little Cecily with fondest love if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells.
My dear boy, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, and some aunts are not tall. That is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. But you seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. And for heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case!
No, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with fondest love to her dear uncle, Jack. Now, there is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle, I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
Did we get that the wrong way around?
No.
You always told me it was Ernest. You look as if your name is Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person I've seen in my life. It is absurd you saying your name isn't Ernest. It's here on your card. Here's one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I will keep this as proof that your name is Ernest, in case you ever try and deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or anybody.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come on, boy! Let's have the thing out at once.
Algy, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. Very vulgar thing, to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. Produces a false impression.
But that's exactly what dentists do. Now, come on! Tell me the whole thing. Might I say, I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and now I know it to be true.
Bunburyist? What on earth is a Bunburyist?
I will reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you're kind enough to tell me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Yeah. Now produce your explanation and pray. Make it improbable.
My dear boy, there's nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me, in his will, guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle from motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is this place in the country?
And that is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly that the place is not in Shropshire.
Well, I knew that. I have Bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
Actually, I don't know if you can appreciate my real motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It is one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to produce either much to one's health or to one's happiness, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest who lives at the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear boy, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. Save it for the people who haven't been at university. They do it so well in the daily papers. No, what you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest in order that you might be able to come up to town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable, permanent invalid called Bunbury in order that I might be able to trot down to the country as often as I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable to me. If it weren't for Mr. Bunbury's extraordinary poor health, I wouldn't be able to dine with you tonight at Willis's, for I've really been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I would ask you to dine anywhere with me tonight.
I know, you are absurdly careless about sending out invitations. Nothing annoys someone so much as not receiving invitations.
You'd much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the slightest intention of doing anything of the kind. In the first place, I dined there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with your own relations. In the second place, I'm always treated as a member of the family, and sat down with either no woman at all, or two. In the third place, I know perfectly well who she'll sit me next to tonight. She will sit me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very nice. Indeed, it's not even decent. And that sort of thing is remarkably on the increase. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It's simply washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a Bunburyist, I want to talk to you about Bunbury. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me, I think I'll kill my brother. Indeed. I think I'll get rid of him in any case. Cecily's a little too much interested in him. It's rather a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with your invalid friend with the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to me rather problematic, you will be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who gets married without knowing Bunbury has a tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry Gwendolen, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life who I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You seem to forget that in marriage, 3 is company, 2 is none.
That, my dear young friend, is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 40 years.
Yes, and that the happy English home has proved in half the time.
Don't try to be simple. It's perfectly easy to be simple.
It isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. That must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I promise to get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you can have an opportunity of proposing to Gwendolen, will you please dine with me at Willis's tonight?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who aren't serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
My, you're smart.
Well, I'm always smart, aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, well, I hope I'm not that. There would be no room for development, and I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry for a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dear Lady Carberry. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looked quite 20 years younger. And now And one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you got.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come sit here, Gwendolyn?
Oh, thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches?
There were no cucumbers in the market today, sir. I went down there twice.
No cucumbers.
No, sir. Not even for ready money.
That will do, Lane.
Thank you, sir.
I am much aggrieved, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
Well, it certainly has changed its colour. From what cause, I of course cannot say. Thank you. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She's such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
Oh, I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great disappointment, and need I say a terrible bore, but the fact is I've just had a telegram to inform me that my poor friend Bunbury has fallen ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice as far as any improvement in his ailment goes. I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury for me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has practically said whatever they had to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he's still conscious. And I think I can say he'll be quite all right by Saturday. Of course, the music is a great difficulty. If one plays good music, people don't listen. If one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I will gladly go with the program I've drawn up if you'll accompany me into the next room for a moment.
Oh, thank you, Algernon. That is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few explanations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think they're improper, and I will look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German sounds a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed, I believe is so. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me?
Oh, certainly, Mama.
Charming day, then, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else, and that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracken's temporary absence to...
Oh, I would certainly advise you do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room in which I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any girl I've ever met since I met you. Oh.
Yes, I'm quite aware of the fact, and I often wish that in public, at any rate, you had been a bit more demonstrative. But for me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I knew I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines and has reached the provincial pulpits, I am told, and my ideal has always been to love someone of the name Ernest. There is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. Oh, for a moment,
You really love me, Gwendolyn.
Passionately.
Darling.
Oh, my eyes!
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
Oh, but your name is Ernest.
Yes, I know. But supposing it was something else, do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
Oh, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference to the actual facts of real life, as we know them.
Personally, darling, I don't much care about the name of Ernest. I don't think it suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly! It is a fine name, it has a music of its own, it produces vibrations.
Really, Gwendolyn, I think there's lots of other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack. No, there's very little music in the name Jack. Very and dull indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they are, with that exception, more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is notorious domesticity for John, and what pity any woman who's married to a man called John. Well, she would probably never be allowed to know the intrinsic pleasures of a single moment's solitude. No, the only really safe name is Ernest.
Gwendolyn, I must be christened at once. I mean, we must be married at once.
Married? Mr. Wedding!
But surely, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, you're not absolutely indifferent to me.
Oh, I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing at all has been said about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
Well, I think it would be an admirable opportunity, and to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn.
Yes, darling. What have you got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, you don't say it.
Gwendolyn. Will you marry me?
Of course, darling! What have you been about it? I'm afraid you've had very little experience in how to propose.
My darling, I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
Oh, yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderful blue eyes you have, Ernest. They're quite blue. Oh, I hope you always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most delightful.
Mamma, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Miss Wooding is not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me. You are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I'm making these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma.
In the carriage, Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn,
Yes, Mamma.
you can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men, although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit that I do smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of opinion that a man who desires to be married should either know everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either profit or pleasure. It provides one with position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I have a country house, of course, with some land attached to it, about 1,500 acres, I believe, but I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only ones who make anything of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? Well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolyn could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like, 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
She's a lady considerably advanced in years. She goes about very little.
Ah, nowadays that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side?
Both, if necessary. What are your politics?
Well, I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
Ah, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate. Now, to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents, Lady Bracknell.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce? Or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. I said, Lady Bracknell, that I had lost both my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say that they seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Carty, an old gentleman of a very kindly and charitable disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It is a seaside resort.
And where did the charitable gentleman who had the first-class ticket to a seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes. Yes, Lady Bracknell, I was in a handbag, a somewhat large black leather handbag with a handle to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
And in what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes. The Brighton line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I confess that I feel somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that remind one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, has indeed probably been used for that purpose before now. But it can hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a guaranteed position in good society.
Well, can I ask what you would advise me do? I need hardly say that I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and find some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort at any rate wait to produce at least one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce a handbag whenever you like. My dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and to form an alliance with a parcel. Good day, Mr. Worthing.
Good day. For heaven's sake, Algy, will you stop playing that ghastly tune? How idiotic you are.
Didn't it go off all right, then, boy? Oh, you don't need to say Gwendolyn refused you. I know. It's a way she has. She's always refusing people. It's most ill-natured of her.
Gwendolyn's right as a trivet. As far as she's concerned, we're engaged. The mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't know what a gorgon is, but I'm quite certain that Lady Bracknell. At any rate, she is a monster without being a myth, which is rather unfair. Sorry, Algy, I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own aunt in this way in front of you.
Oh, I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only thing that makes me put up with them in the first place. Relatives are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the slightest notion of how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die.
That is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue with you about it. You always want to argue about things.
That's exactly what things were made for.
Oh, my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. I suppose. There's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years?
All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does, that's his.
Is that clever?
It is perfectly phrased, and just as true as anything in modern life should be.
Sick to death of cleverness. You can't go anywhere these days without meeting clever people. The thing's become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Oh, about the clever people, of course.
Oh, what fools.
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about you being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear boy, the truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells a sweet, refined girl like Gwendolyn. What extraordinary ideas you have of how to behave to a woman.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
Before the week is out, I'll have got rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die of apoplexy quite suddenly, don't they?
Yes, but it's hereditary. It's not a thing that runs in families. You'd much better say a severe chill.
You are sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of the kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well. My brother Ernest is carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
What about Miss Cardew? I thought you said your ward was a little too interested in your brother. Won't she feel his loss a great deal?
Oh, that's all right. Cecily's not some silly romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She's got capital appetite, goes long walks, pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I would like to see this, Cecily.
I shall take extremely good care that you never do. She's excessively pretty and she's only just 18.
Does Gwendolyn know the truth that you have an excessively pretty young ward who's only just 18?
One doesn't blurt these things out to people. Gwendolyn and Cecily are perfectly certain to be extremely great friends. I bet you anything you like that half an hour after they've met, they'll be calling each other sister.
Women only do that when they've called each other a good deal of other things. Now, you know what time it is. We really must go and dress if we're going to get to a table at Willis's. It's nearly 7.
Oh, it's always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What am I going to do after dinner? Go to the club?
No, I hate talking.
Go to the theatre?
No, I hate listening.
Might trot round the Empire at 10?
Oh no, I loathe looking at things. It is so silly.
Well, what are we going to do?
Nothing.
It is awfully hard work doing nothing. Then I don't mind hard work, so long as there's no definite objective of any kind.
Miss Fairfax.
Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Now, Gwendolyn,
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You're not quite old enough to do that.
Darling.
Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mama's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast and dying out. Whatever influence I had over Mama, I have lost at the age of 3. For although she may prevent us from becoming one man in life, and I may marry someone else, and marry often, there is nothing that she can possibly do that can alter my eternal devotion to you. The story of your romantic origin, as related to me, my Mama, with the pleasing remarks, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of your character is exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address in the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Walton, Hertfordshire.
There's good postal service there, I suppose. Or it may be necessary to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration.
Dear Gwendolyn.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Oh, good. Algy, you may turn around now.
thank you, I've turned around already.
Oh, you may also ring the bell.
You will let me see your carriage, my own darling.
Yes, certainly.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, then, I'm going Bunbury.
Yes, sir.
I shan't be back until Monday. I'll need all my dress shirts, the smoking jackets, every single one of the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow is a very pleasant day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
You're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl. The only girl I ever cared for in my life. What on earth is so amusing?
Oh, nothing. I'm merely anxious about poor Bunbury, that's all.
If you aren't careful, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape someday.
Oh, I love scrapes. They're the only things that are never serious.
That is nonsense, Algy. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
Cecily, surely a utilitarian occupation like watering the flowers should best belong to move on than you, especially at a moment like this when an intellectual pleasure awaits you. So German grammar is here on the table here. Play open to page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German when he left for town yesterday. Indeed, he lays stress on your German whenever you leave for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he's so serious, I think he cannot be quite well.
Fortunately, your guardian enjoys the best of health, and the gravity of his demeanor should really be commended, considering how relatively young he is. I don't know anyone who has a stronger sense of duty or responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I am surprised at you. Mr. Worthing, has a lot of trouble in his life, and idle merriment and silliness have no place in his conversation. I know that you are aware of how consistently stressed he is over that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I do wish he would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. I think we'd be a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure you certainly would. You know, German and geology, well, things of that kind influence him very much.
Yes. I don't think that even I can have any effect on the character who, according to his own brother's assessment, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. I don't know that I desire to reclaim him. I certainly don't agree with the modern mania who wants to turn bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so shall he reap. Cecily, put away the diary. I don't know why you have a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memories, my dear child. Memory is the diary we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that haven't happened and, well, couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Moody sends us.
Don't speak too slightingly of the 3-volume novel, dear. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are! Oh, I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily and the bad did not. That's what fiction needs.
I suppose so. But it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
Oh, alas, no. I'm afraid my manuscript was abandoned. I used that word in the sense that it was set aside or lost. Back to your work, dear. These speculations are profitless.
But I see a dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble.
And how
Well,
are you this morning, Miss Prism? I trust you are well.
It's a pleasure indeed.
Oh, Miss Prism has just been complaining about a slight headache. I think it would do her much good to go on a short stroll with you through the park, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I said nothing at all to you about a headache.
I know that, Miss Prism, but I felt instinctively that you had a headache. In fact, I was thinking about that and not my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you're not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange, for if I were fortunate enough to have Miss Prism, I would be her pupil. I would hang upon her lips. But I understand metaphorically. I drive my metaphor from the bees. Mr. Worthing has not returned from town yet.
Oh, we don't actually expect him until Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes, he likes to spend his Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment. Not like that unfortunate young brother of his.
But I guess we should get back to our work. You shouldn't disturb us any longer, I think.
Yes. Yes, I will not disturb Egeria or her pupil any longer.
Egeria? But, Doctor, my name is Laetitia.
A casual allusion borrowed from the pagan authors. I might see you both, no doubt, at Evensong.
You know, dear Doctor, I think I will take you up on that stroll after all. I feel like I am coming down with a bit of a headache. And I think a nice stroll would do me good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might walk as far as the schools and back.
Oh, that sounds delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the falls of witty you may omit. I think it's a bit too sensational. Some of these metallic vowels have their own melancholy. Let me tell you about them.
Horrid political economy. Horrid geography. Horrid geography.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 the Albany W. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss, he seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were forgotten. He said he was most anxious to speak with you privately for a moment.
Pray, ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come here. I suppose better talk to the housekeeper about getting a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm just so afraid that he will look like everyone else. He does.
Why, you're my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
Well, I'm afraid you're under some strange mistake. I'm not little. In fact, I believe that I'm old and usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think I'm wicked.
If you're not, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you haven't been pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. Now that would be a hypocrisy.
Of course, I have been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now that I think about it, I have been very bad.
I don't think you should be so proud of that, though. I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
Well, I can't understand you here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back until Monday afternoon.
Oh, that is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train Monday morning. I have a business appointment I'm anxious to miss.
Well, couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I of course know how important it is to not keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life, but I still think you better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wanted to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
Your emigrating, he's gone up to buy your outfit.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfits. He has no sense of neckties at all.
I don't think he'll be requiring neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I would sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
The accounts I have received of the next world and Australia are not particularly encouraging. Besides, this world is good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. Which is why I need you to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind.
I'm afraid I've got no time this afternoon.
Do you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
Well, this is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You're looking a little worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
Oh, how thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, that one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Yes, but might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
A Marechal Niel?
No, I'd sooner a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
I don't think it could be right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You're the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says it all. Good looks are a snare.
They are a snare any sensible man would love to be caught in.
Well, I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I don't think I would know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Tazewell. You should get married. A misanthrope, I understand. A woman's though? Never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept and the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
Well, that is obviously the reason why the primitive church did not last until the present day. Dear doctor, I don't know if you realize, but that by being persistently single, a man converts himself into permanent public temptation. Men need to be more careful. It is this very celibacy that leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
Oh, no married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended upon. Rightness is trusted. Young women are green. I speak metaphysically, drawing my metaphors from fruit. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing?
Mr. Worthing.
Mr. Worthing, this is indeed a puzzle. We weren't expecting you until Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you're well.
Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
More shameful death and extravagance.
So leads his life, pleasure.
Dead.
Your brother Ernest dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust you will profit by it.
Dear Mr. Worthing, you have my sincere condolence. You also have the consolation of knowing you have always been the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you present at the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris, in fact. I had a telegram this morning from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
Chill.
As a man so shall be reaped.
Charity, Miss Prison, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself have a weakness. I have the drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear that hardly points to any serious state of mind at the last. Would you no doubt wish for me to make some slight allusion to this terrible domestic affliction next Sunday? My sermon on the meaning of the monad in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any situation. Joyful days, or as in this case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, confirmations, christenings, days of humiliation, and festival days. But the latest time I delivered it was in the cathedral as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop, one of the upper orders, who was present, was much taken by some of the analogies.
That reminds me, Dr. Chasuble. You mentioned christenings. I suppose you know how to christen all right?
Oh, good God.
I mean, of course, that you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's more constant duties in the parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes about this very subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift means.
Is there any particular infant, Mr. Worthing, that you are interested in? Your brother was unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
Those who live purely for pleasure usually are.
Nothing. It is not for any child, dear doctor. I am very fond of children. No. The fact of the matter is, I would like to be christened myself. This afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But Mr. Worthing, haven't you been christened already?
I don't remember anything about it.
But do you have any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course. I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if perhaps you think I'm a little too old now.
Not at all. The christening or even the immersion of adult is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion.
You need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed I think advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what time would you wish for the ceremony to be performed?
I might talk round about 5, if that would suit you.
Perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at the same time. A case of twins recently occurred in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Mr. Jenkins, the farmer, a most hard-working man.
I don't see any fun in being christened along with the other babies. It would be childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I do not wish any more to draw into your house of sorrow. I only beg of you to not to be too bogged down by your grief. What seems to us bitter trials, many times, are blessings in disguise.
It seems to me a blessing if it's extremely obvious one.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm so pleased to see you back. With what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Emily.
Uncle Jack, what's the matter? You look as if you're running toothache. Well, I've got such a surprise for you. Guess who's in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Ernest. He arrived about a half hour ago.
What nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Don't say that. However badly he may have behaved to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I will go and get him, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are the beautiful tidings.
After we had mourned for him and suddenly turned to striking me as oddly depressing.
My brother? He's in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it's all perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John, I have come down to the country to tell you how terribly sorry I am for all the trouble I've caused you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you aren't going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think he's coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice.
No.
There is some good in everyone. Alice has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And well, surely there is much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
Oh yes, he's told me all about Mr. Bunbury's terrible state of health.
Bunbury. I won't have him talking to you about Bunbury, about anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit all the faults are on my side, but I must say that I find Brother John's coldness to me to be particularly painful, especially considering it is the first time I've come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me?
Never, never, never.
Well, this is the last time I shall ever do it.
It's pleasant, isn't it? Such a perfect reconciliation. I think now we leave the 2 brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
certainly, Miss Prism, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
Let us not be too premature in our judgment.
You young scoundrel, Algy! You've got to leave this place. I don't allow me wandering here.
I have put Mr. Ernest's things in the room next to yours, sir. This is all right.
What?
Mr. Ernest's luggage, sir. I unpacked it and placed it in the room next to your own. His luggage, yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I shan't be able to stay more than a week this time.
Madam, in order the dog cart at once, Mr. Ernest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
Well, I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman. You never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth don't you go up and change? It is absurd to be in mourning for a man who is alive and well and staying with you for a whole week in your house. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying with me for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You have got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly can't leave you so long as you're in mourning. If ever I were in mourning, you would stay with me, I should suppose. It would be most unkind of you if you didn't.
But will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you're not too long. I've never known anyone take so long to dress and with such little result.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you have got to get back by the 4:05, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This bundering, as you call it, has not been a great success.
I think it has been a great success. I am in love with Cecily. That is everything. I should like to see her again before I go and make arrangements for another Bunbury. Ah, there she is!
Oh, I just merely came back to water the roses. I thought you were Uncle Jack.
He's gone to fetch the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
And have we got to part?
I'm afraid we must. And it is a very painful parting.
It's always painful to part from people one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from which anyone has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
I can wait, Marilyn, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend you if I state quite openly and frankly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you'll allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I'd give anything to look at it, may I?
Oh, no. You see, it's simply a very young girl's thoughts and impressions, and, well, consequently meant for publication. When it appears in value form, I hope that you'll order a copy, but pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You can go on, I'm ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one just speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, from the moment I first looked upon your wild and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you. Wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think that you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make make much sense, does it?
Oh, Cecily.
The dog is waiting, sir. Tell it to come round next week at the same hour. Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if he knew you were staying until next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anybody in the whole world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
The last 3 months?
Yes, it'll be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
Darling, when did we become engaged?
Well, you see, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, became the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And well, of course, a man that's much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
Darling, when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I was determined to end the matter one way or the other. Well, after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear tree here. The next day, I bought this little ring in your name. And this is the bangle with the lover's knot I promised you always to wear.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've got great taste, and it's the excuse I was given for your leading such a bad life. And this is the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters! But Cecily, I haven't written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well that I was forced to write letters for you. I wrote always, 3 times a week and sometimes oftener.
Would you let me read them?
Oh, I couldn't possibly. They would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I'd broken off the engagement are so beautiful and so badly spelled that, well, even now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
Darling, was our engagement ever actually broken off?
Of course it was. The 22nd of last March. You can see the entry if you like. Today, I broke off my engagement to Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
Cecily, why? Why did you break off our engagement? I hadn't done anything. Cecily, I am hurt to hear that you broke off our engagement, particularly when the weather was so charming.
Well, it would have hardly been a very serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once, but I forgave you before the week was out.
Oh, what a perfect angel you are.
You dear romantic boy. I hope your hair grows naturally, does it?
It will when it gets long enough, and with some help from some other people.
I'm so glad.
Darling, promise me you will never break off our engagement again.
I don't think I could break it off now that I've actually met you. Besides, of course, there is the question of your name.
Oh, yes, of course, my name.
You must not laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Ernest. The name alone seems to inspire one with absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
Dear child, you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
But what name?
Any name you like? Algernon, for instance.
Oh, but I don't like the name of Algernon.
My own dear, sweet, loving little darling, I really don't see why you should object to the name of Algernon. It isn't a bad name. It's a very aristocratic name. Half the chaps who get into bankruptcy court are called Algernon. Seriously, Cecily, you don't need to say you couldn't love me if my name was Ernest.
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear that I shall not be able to give you you my undivided attention.
Your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly practiced in all the rites and ceremonies of the church.
Oh, yes. Dr. Chaswell is the most learned man. He's never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see him right away on the most important christening. I mean, on the most important business.
Oh, well,
I shan't be away more than 30 minutes.
considering that we've been engaged since February 14th, and that, well, we've only met today for the first time, I think it's rather hard that you should leave me for a long period of time as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I will enter his proposal into my diary.
Miss Fairfax has called for Mr. Worthing. Very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Isn't Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went in direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray, ask the lady to come out here. I suppose Mr. Worthing will be back soon, and you can bring tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax. I suppose one of the many good elderly women associated with Uncle Jack and some of his philanthropic work in London. I don't quite like women who are interested in philanthropic work. I think it's so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew. What a very sweet name. Oh, something tells me we are going to be great friends. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
Nice of you to like me after we've known each other for such a comparatively short time. Pray, sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
Pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
Oh, that is all quite settled, then, is it not?
I hope so.
Well, perhaps this may be a favourable opportunity for my expressing who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have never heard of Papa, I suppose?
No, I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that is quite as it should be. For the home seems to be the perfect sphere for the man, and certainly once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes so painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. Makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mama's whose views in education are remarkably strict has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. Do you mind if I'm looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
Well, you are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh, no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also.
No, I have no mother nor any relations.
Indeed.
My dear guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Oh, yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh. He never mentioned to me he had a ward. How very secretive of him. Oh, he grows more interesting hourly. I'm not sure, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. Cecily, I am very fond of you. I have liked you ever since I met you, but I am bound to state that now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, well, I can't help expressing a wish that you were just a little bit older than you appear to be and not quite so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak quite candidly.
Pray do. I think that whenever anyone has anything unpleasant to say, that one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish that you were fully 42. More than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honor. Disloyalty to him would be as impossible as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the influence of the charms of physical others. Oh, modern no less than ancient history supplies us with many most painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, on good terms for some time.
Well, that accounts for it. Now that I think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. But the subject seems most distasteful to most men. Oh, Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. Although you're quite sure it's not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon?
Dearest Gwendolyn, there's no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I think there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. But the announcement will appear in the Morning Post by Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you're under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
Well, it is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. Pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I am so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have to fry a claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it caused you any mental or physical anguish, but I feel bound to point out that, well, since Ernest proposed to you, he clearly changed his mind.
Oh, if the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten himself into, I will never reproach him with it after we are married.
What do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? How presumptuous! On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
And did you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you! This is not the time to wear a shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Oh, and I'm glad to say that I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been wildly different.
Shall I, Lady Teagus?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh, yes, a great many, Miss Fairfax. From the top of the hill's quite close. One can see up to 5 counties.
Oh, 5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that is why you live in town.
Oh, quite a well-kept garden, this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Yes, flowers are common here as people are in London.
Well, personally, I cannot understand how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
I suppose that is what they refer to as agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy are suffering from it very much at later. Also, I've been told it is almost an epidemic amongst them. Would you like some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl. But I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Oh, bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen in the best houses nowadays.
And that, Miss Fairfax?
You have put lots of sugar in my tea, and though I most distinctly asked for bread and butter, you have given me cake. decided, but I warn you, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful, and I'm never deceived in such matters.
Appears to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you've been other calls with similar character to make me the
Ernest! My own Ernest.
Dear Gwendolyn.
A moment. Are you engaged to be married to this young girl here?
To dear little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea in your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is currently around your waist at present is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack!
Jack!
Here is Ernest. Oh, a moment. Are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
What young lady?
Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Yes, to good heavens, Gwendolyn. I mean Gwendolyn.
Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you, you may.
Miss Cardew, I felt there must be some slight error, for the gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief? Oh, are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
A gross deception has been made on the both of us.
Oh, my poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not?
There's just one question I would like to be allowed to ask my guardian.
An admirable idea. Mr. Worthing, there is just one question we'd like to be permitted to put to you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it is a matter of great importance for us to know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it's very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. This is the first time in my life I've ever been reduced to such a painful position, and I really am frighteningly serious doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you both quite plainly that I have no brother Ernest. I never had a brother Ernest, and I certainly don't intend on ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Not any brother of any kind.
Never. Not even of any kind.
Oh, Cecily, I'm afraid it's quite clear that neither of us is engaged to be married to anybody.
This is a very pleasant position for a young girl to find herself in, isn't it?
Let us go into the house. They will hardly venture to come after us there.
Certainly, men are so cowardly, are they not?
This Scottish here has what you call bunbury, I suppose.
Yes, and a wonderful Bunbury it is too. The most wonderful Bunbury I've had in my life.
Then you've no right whatsoever to bunbury here.
Oh, that's absurd. One has a right to Bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious bunburies, good heavens.
Well, one has to be serious about something if one is to have any pleasure in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What you're serious about, I haven't the slightest idea. About everything, I should suppose. You have an absolutely trivial nature.
The only consolation I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to get down to the country quite so often as you used to, dear Algy, and a very good thing too.
Your poor brother is a little off-colour, isn't he, dear Jack? You won't be able to disappear up to London quite so often as your wicked custom was, and not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say that you're taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like Cecily quite inexcusable, to say nothing of the fact that she's my ward.
I can see no excuse for you deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young woman like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolen, that is all. I love her.
I want to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There is certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there's much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax ever being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
Well, if it were my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It is a very vulgar thing to talk about one's own business. Only people like stockbrokers do that. Then only at dinner parties.
How you can sit there calmly eating muffins while we're in this horrible trouble I can't make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter might get on my cuffs. One must always eat muffins quite calmly. It is the only way to eat muffins.
I say it's perfectly heartless you're eating muffins at all under the circumstances.
When I am in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. Indeed, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, when I am in really great trouble, I refuse everything except food and drink. Right now, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. And besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that's no reason you should eat them all in that greedy way.
Jack, I really wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens! I suppose a man may eat his own muffins in his own garden.
You just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
Yes, but the muffins are the same.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would leave.
You can't possibly ask me to leave without having dinner. It's absurd! I never go anywhere without having my dinner. Nobody ever does, except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with your rector to be christened at 5:45 under the name of Ernest.
My dear boy, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I myself have made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 5:30, and I naturally will take the name Ernest, whoever it will wish it. We can't both be christened Ernest, it's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There is no evidence whatsoever that I've ever been christened by anyone. I should think it extremely probable that I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It's entirely different in your case. You've been christened already.
Yes, but I haven't been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so we know my constitution can stand it. It's a very different thing. You never haven't been christened, and I think it's a very dangerous expedition you're embarking on it now. You must be very careful. You can't forget that someone very near to you was very nearly carried off in Paris by a severe chill.
But you said yourself that a severe chill is not hereditary or anything of the kind.
It used to be, I know, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making wonderful improvements to these things.
So that is nonsense.
Jack! You're at the muffins again. I really wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
But I hate tea cake.
Then why on earth do you allow it to be served up to your guests? What ideas of hospitality you have?
Algy, I have already asked you to leave. Why don't you go?
Because I haven't finished my tea. There's still one muffin left.
Well, the fact that they did not follow us into the house at once seems to me to show they have some sense of shame left. They have been eating muffins.
That looks like repentance.
Oh, sorry. Oh, they don't seem to notice us at all. Oh, what did you cough?
But I haven't to cough.
Oh. Oh, they're looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching? That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, it's the only thing left to do.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask of you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn,
might have the opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory answer, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't. But that doesn't change the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have the opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest of doubts. But I intend to crush them. This is no time for German skepticism. Their answers appear to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
Well, I'm more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes! I mean, no!
True! There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which one of us should tell them? I'm afraid the task is not a pleasant one.
Could we both not speak at the same time?
Oh, an excellent idea! I nearly always speak at the same time as others. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an inseparable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? Well, we're going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
To please me, you're able to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
Well, how absurd it is to talk of the equality of the sexes when matters of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage in which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling!
Darling!
Darling,
Darling.
Lady Bracknell!
Good heavens!
Gwendolyn, what does this mean? Merely that I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma. Come here, sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father, I'm glad to say, is under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any question. I would consider it wrong. But of course, you must clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now as regards Algernon. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
Bunbury? Oh, no, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, poor Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
I mean, Bunbury was found out. I mean, the doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we are finally rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
Cecily and I are engaged to be married, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know whether there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seem to me considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I believe some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected to any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran, Fifeshire, NB.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I've carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby and Markby.
Markby and Markby, a firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, records of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, confirmation, vaccination, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
Life crowded with incident, I see. Though perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I myself am not in favor of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds, that is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment. £130,000, and in the funds? Miss Cardew seems to me a very attractive young lady now. So few girls of the present day possess any really solid qualities, the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. Pretty child, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all of that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to young Lady Lansing, and after 3 months her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn round, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Ah, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points in our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. The chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worn. They are worn very high just at present. Algernon.
Yes, Aunt
There
Augusta.
are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, kindest, prettiest girl I've ever met. I don't care tuppence for social responsibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may also address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I'm not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity to discover each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say, ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more could one desire?
It pains me very much, Lady Bracknell, to speak to you frankly about your nephew, but the fact of the matter is I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He is an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This morning, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. He then drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet Brut 89, a wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful reception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea, where he devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I never had a brother, and that I don't intend on having a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I've decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How extremely generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, sweet child. How old are you, dear?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite candid about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties? Well, it will not be very long before you are of age and free of the restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent is after all a matter of any importance.
I pray forgive me for interrupting you again, Lady Bracknell, but I must tell you that, according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age until she is 35.
Oh. That does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth, who of their own free choice have remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not be even still more attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me until I was 35?
Of course I could, darling. You know I could.
Yes, I knew it instinctively. But I couldn't wait that long. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do mind the punctuality in others and, well, waiting. Even to be married is quite out of the question.
What are we going to do?
Don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew positively states that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to me to show a somewhat impatient nature. I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But, my dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely within your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage to Gwendolen, I will most happily allow an alliance between your nephew and my ward.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us has to look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, dear, We've already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christening.
The christening, sir. Is that not somewhat premature?
I express a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think, with things as they are now, that would be of much practical use to either of us, Dr. Churchill.
I am grieved to hear of such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savor of the critical views of the Anabaptists, views that I have completely refuted in my 4 unpublished sermons. However, as your present mood seems to be peculiarly secular, I shall return at once to my church, where I have just been informed by the Puritan pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Oh, why, yes, Lady Bracknell. I'm off to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may prove to be one of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is one of the most cultivated of ladies, the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism has been, for the last 3 years, Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches.
I thought you expected me in the vestry, dear Camden. I've been waiting there for you for the last hour and 45 minutes.
Prism? Come here, Prism. Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight, standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby wasn't there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with some shame that I do not know. I only wish that I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day that you mentioned, a day that is now branded forever in my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I also had with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag into which I planned to place a manuscript, a work of fiction that I had written during my few available hours, a moment of mental abstraction, which I will never forgive myself. I deposited the manuscript into the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me that, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance. I insist upon knowing where you placed the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, Wait for me here.
If you're not too long, I will wait for you here all my life.
I dare not even suspect Dr. Chasuble. I need hardly tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered a thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Guardian has a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if he was having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They're always vulgar and often convincing.
The sound is gone.
I wish he would arrive at some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prison? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends upon your answer.
It seems to be mine. Yes, here is an injury that occurred due to the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus during younger, happier days. Oh, and look here on the lining. You see the stain that was made by the explosion of a temperance beverage back in Leamington. Oh, there on the lock are my initials. I had completely forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had those placed there. Yes, the bag is undoubtedly mine, and I'm delighted to have it so unexpectedly returned to me. It has been very inconvenient being without it all of these years.
Miss Prison, more is returned to you than just the handbag. I was the baby that you placed inside.
Oh,
You?
Yes. Mother.
Worthy? I am unmarried.
What marriage? Well, I do not deny that it's a serious blow. But after all, who has a right to cast a stone against one who is supple? Do not repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Worthy viewers, there has been an error here. The woman who can tell you who you really are is death.
Lady Brown, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you mind telling me who I am?
I'm afraid the news I have to give you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother? Then I do have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always knew I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have doubted I have a brother? Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel. You should have to treat me with more respect. You've never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Not till today, old boy, although I admit I've been out of practice.
Oh, but my own one. But what Algernon are you? What is your Christian name now that you have become someone else?
Good heavens, I'd quite forgotten the fact. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
And the matter had better be cleared up at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism placed me in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
And I was christened, that is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Being the eldest, you are naturally christened after your father.
But what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment recall what the General's Christian name was. I have no doubt he had one. He was eccentric, I admit. But that was in later years, and the result of the Indian climate, and marriage, and indigestion. indigestion, and other things of that kind.
Algy, can't you recall what our father's Christian name is?
My dear fellow, we were hardly on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army lists of the period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta.
Well, the general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I have no doubt his name would appear in any military directory.
The army lists of the last 40 years are here. These delightful books should be my constant study. Here they are. M. Generals. Malin, Maxton, Maglia, ghastly names they have. Markby, Mingsby, Moncrief, Lieutenant Colonel, 1849, Colonel, General, 1860. Christian names. Ernest Shaw.
Hey!
I always told you, Gwendolyn, that my name is Ernest, didn't I? My name is Ernest, after all. I mean, it naturally is Ernest.
Yes, now I recall, the general was called Ernest. I knew I had some particular reason for disliking the name.
Ernest, for I felt you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to discover suddenly that his whole life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you ever forgive me?
I can, for I feel that you are short-changed.
My own one.
Cecily!
Gwendolyn, at last.
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've just discovered for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.